Good evening. I'd like to call the Tuesday, March 24th, 2015 City of Gardner Planning Commission meeting to order. Would everyone please rise and state the Pledge of Allegiance with me? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll now start with roll call on my right.
Austin here.
Barber here. Mater here.
Lavella here.
Limer here.
Quorum is present. Move into the consent agenda. All matters listed within the consent agenda have been distributed to each member of the Planning Commission for study. These items are considered to be routine and will be enacted upon by one motion with no separate discussion. If separate discussion is desired on an item from either the Planning Commission or from the floor, that item may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda. Are there any items any members of the commission would like to have removed from the consent agenda? Any items any member of the public would like to have removed from the consent agenda? Seeing none, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I second.
We have a motion to approve the consent agenda made by Limer with a second by Barber. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with all in favor. Moving on to new business, item number 1. Appeal of staff's determination of the design guidelines. Consider an appeal of the staff's decision regarding acceptable building materials in the Gardner Design Standards for a residential accessory structure. Do we have a staff presentation this evening?
Good evening, Commissioners. Michelle Leininger. I'll just give a brief overview of the staff report. This item is a little different than what we traditionally see. Traditionally, you would see a recommendation from staff. This is actually an appeal of the staff determination. So, as you noted on the staff report, there's no official staff recommendation. That's up to the Commission to make a determination on. Just an overview, the original applicant's request, this started from a Board of Zoning Appeals variance request. There were 4 variance requested that went before the board, and through that process and conversations with the applicant, it was determined that the applicant's intent was to use non-corrugated metal as an exterior siding material on their proposed accessory structure. The Gardner Design Guideline or Design Standards specifically say that non-corrugated metal is not to be used for residential type structures. And these drawings are just some drawings that they had provided through the BZA process. I know they have a presentation for you, so they will provide some more details and some more pictures of what they're proposing. This is just what I had on hand for a point of reference for you. Again, staff determined that that is not a permitted material for residential structures, and it's not consistent with the purpose statement of the standards. The standards do allow for staff to vary from one or more requirements, provided that the variances are integral to an architectural vision that is consistent with the purpose statement outlined in the document. This is the purpose and intent statement. This is included in your staff report. And really the one that we were focusing on is the first one that talks about design that complements the architecture, landscapes, history, and culture of Gardner. The area where the property is located is in part of the original area of town, so it's a little more traditional. Most of the structures were built in the early 1900s. This is just visually what was included in your staff report, so you can, if you didn't have a chance to drive by the property, you can see what the residences look like in the area. This is the applicant's residence. This is the one to the west, and to the east. And then these are the ones that are behind the applicant's house on West Warren Street. These are the three structures. Very traditional type of materials and look. Staff did make the final determination that the residential garage is not permitted to have the pre-finished non-corrugated metal as a building material. The applicant did appeal that determination. That letter was included in your staff report, and at this point it's for the Planning Commission to consider the appeal and make the decision on the map.
Great, thanks, Michelle. Did the applicant have anything to share this evening?
Hi, I'm Diane Stevens. I'm one of the applicants. My husband, Andy Stevens, is also here. We did put together a small presentation just to address some of the points from the planning design report. This is the first slide. This is a cover for the appeal. If you can move to the second slide. Oh, okay, thanks. Let's see if I can be smarter than the clicker. There we go. These are the benefits of the engineered steel siding that we're proposing to use. This is a pre-finished, pre-colored, non-corrugated steel. The benefits of it are that over some of the traditional siding materials, it has a superior strength and durability. It has little to no required maintenance. It's also resistant to insects and decay. It's fire resistant, which is very important in a small, close neighborhood like ours. The pre-finished color retention actually looks a lot better over time than wood does because it doesn't require the kind of upkeep that more traditional siding does. It's also very similar in board and batten construction to board and batten construction, which is what would traditionally be seen, and you can see later on in some of these slides what some of that siding looks like and how similar it is in appearance. And this particular material is easily customizable to complement a wide range of architecture and landscape styles. And we've worked really hard to make sure that our design complements our house specifically. So this is how we propose to meet the Gardner Design Standards. We are using a high quality materials and design. Like I said, we have worked really hard to make sure it matches our house. It complements the architecture and the landscape of our home. We're going to be doing that through the custom body and trim colors. Also, we'll be adding some brick wainscoting, which does reflect the design and the architecture of the home itself. And we've designed the garage structure so that it has identical pitch and overhang, so it does really look very similar to the home. We believe that this design also significantly improves the functionality of the built environment over the current accessory building that is there, which is mostly unusable because of its awkward size and placement adjacent to the alley. And because we are using what is considered maybe a non-traditional by the staff's report use of modern materials, we feel that we are also meeting the creative guideline, the creative use of modern materials to reflect that architecture. So these are some of the pictures that the staff report includes of neighborhood. The staff included pictures of the character of the homes in the neighborhood, but this is the character of some of the garages in the neighborhood, and you can see that the traditional exteriors don't necessarily guarantee that the garage appearance is complementary to the homes in the neighborhood. Some of this is because the traditional siding doesn't weather very well, and if something is 50 or 60 to 80 years old, then we are going to see some regular wear and tear in some of these traditional materials. The character of our proposed design, this is the model of the accessory building that we are basing our garage on. Obviously, ours is not going to be a three-car garage. It's going to be a smaller garage, but you'll see that it does have the brick wainscoting there on the bottom. and also how the siding looks very similar to the board and batten siding. And you'll see that it's very similar to our home design and architectural appearance as well. We're also planning to include arts and crafts style garage doors, which are not shown in this example. Here are some other examples of pre-finished steel siding that, while we won't be using these exactly as our guidance, I was attempting to show how they do complement many different architecture styles. Other examples here from our builder include residential garage applications, and it has an appearance again that is similar to board and batten siding, which you can see. And that's it. Do you have any questions?
I have one quick question. Sorry, Sherry,
Okay, go
I
ahead.
interrupted. Can you go to the slide that showed the other neighborhood garages?
Sure.
Are any of these yours currently, or are these just all in the neighborhood? Are any of
No,
these garages or
the third one is directly across the street from our house.
Okay,
The first one is directly behind the street from our house, and so those represent two of the garages that were accompanying the homes that were in the staff's report. One of the other homes that's immediately to the west of us doesn't have a garage, and the fourth garage here shown is a couple houses down, but it is across the street from our house.
great, thank you.
Sure.
Commissioner Barber?
I was just curious, is it replacing the existing garage?
The existing accessory building isn't a garage.
Or the
It is replacing it, yes.
Replacing it.
We'll be demoing that as our plan.
Other commissioners, anything for the applicant while we have her up?
Yeah, I have a quick question. Have you spoken to any of, I mean, we're looking at the neighbors' houses on maps, and you've shown us some good pictures to look at. Have you spoken with surrounding neighbors? Do they have an opinion on what you're proposing?
We have been in pretty constant communication with our neighbors since we decided to pursue this direction. And we have spoken to them a number of times, and they are supportive of our decision. I do have a couple of my neighbors actually in the audience today, and they're here as a supporting gesture.
Okay.
Great, and just for public record, can you please state your address?
Sure. It's 143 West Park Street.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Any questions for staff from the commissioners?
Would this provision in the standard also prohibit metal siding?
I don't believe so. Check here. It specifically says pre-finished non-corrugated metal. If you're talking about like aluminum siding, doesn't specifically say that. I think but it talks about, fiber cement siding, synthetic wood siding, split shakes, vinyl siding. I think you could probably, painted metal, those are prohibited. I'm gonna say we could probably stretch that to, if it looks like the typical vinyl siding, synthetic wood siding, the lap siding type of, I don't know that we would deny that. It's
metal siding that appeared to be synthetic wood siding. What's synthetic?
If after discussing this, if we do end up approving their request, would we need then to consider offering any amendments to the city code and standards as a result? Would we need to clean that up, or is this just kind of a one-time thing?
if you feel like it's an appropriate material, for, residential, you could go ahead and initiate a change to the design guidelines or standards. That is up to you. You would not have to.
Is there another type of metal that they could use instead of this that will fit the design standards? Instead of the non-corrugated pre-finished? That would look similar?
No, right.
Well, the section that we're looking at is, in your staff report, talks about, 1.7.1, acceptable building materials. I think really the intent was, buildings under 20,000 square feet only, typically residential, small type of commercial. To me, it looks like,
Yeah, I mean, when you look at 1.7.1, it talks about pre-finished, non-corrugated metal, and then in parentheses after that says non-residential only. So I think if you have I think Michelle's interpretation of the code is correct in terms of why we're here tonight. And so anything that would be a non-corrugated, pre-finished metal would be precluded in a residential situation. Does that answer the question? I mean, because
I think so. I just wanna know what is an alternative. I mean, I don't know if you guys would know, or maybe they know. Is there an alternative to
I mean,
this?
there aren't any types of metal siding. Well, first off, corrugated metal is prohibited, right?
Right, I understand that.
And there aren't gonna be any types of siding, I don't think, that I'm aware of out there that are, not pre-finished that anyone would put on their home, so.
I have a question, it doesn't really, really go against the design standards. And in the sentence, it says that the material doesn't meet the intent of the standard. I mean, because it does say you can use that. I understand that it says non-residential, but it's not on a house. It's a garage that backs up to an alley on Park Street.
and I did try to follow through on that with how to use this chapter. The definition of single-family duplex talks
Right.
about other accessory buildings within single-family duplex neighborhoods are included in this category. So then, all of those accessory structures and such would be considered as under that single-family duplex,
Yeah, and
which is a residential.
Right,
And the way I see the non-residential, that's talking about the zoning designation on the property, not house accessory building.
I don't really have a desire to make a change to the design standard, I don't think, but I think it looks fantastic.
I think it looks great too.
I agree. I guess maybe, that's the reason we have the design standard in place is
Yeah.
for
I'd rather
these
make
types
it
of
an
variances to
exception.
come forth and see the presentation and, does it look like a tin shed or does it look like a very blendable nice-looking accessory
I would
building.
call that an arts and crafts building, and I'd rather just make an exception, particularly for a house on Park Street, which is my favorite street. I mean, it's.
Is the pre-finished,
style.
is the pre-finished non-corrugated metal, is that basically trying to stay away from the tin sheds, those kind of things?
Right, be my
The-
interpretation.
Right.
Is that the interpretation of that? Hang on from-
I mean, obviously, the surrounding neighborhood, the structure they're proposing, to me, looks like an obvious upgrade. I like the brick addition, that definitely,
Mhm.
that caught my eye as a nice blending feature.
And just so you're aware, you know, the design standards in the prefatory section talks about variance from the design standards. And it says the planning commission may approve a plan or staff may approve a building permit that varies from one or more requirements, provided that the variances are integral to an architectural vision that is consistent with the purpose statement outlined in this chapter. You know, in Michelle's defense, it's all, I think staff's always gonna be fairly reticent of unilaterally changing or varying from prescribed design standards. But, you know, obviously allowing the applicant to come before the planning commission to allow you to make that determination, I think probably is appropriate. And so, if you find that, that it is integral to an architectural vision that is consistent with the purpose statement outlined in the design standards, then it's certainly within your discretion, and you don't have to then go back and amend the design standards to change it.
Agreed.
They're there for a reason,
Right.
we worked hard on that, and
But hate to change
Yeah,
that hard work.
I don't wanna change it.
So you don't feel like we'd be setting a precedent here, a bad precedent? I mean, to go against what the design standards say?
I mean, I don't think so, because every property is unique, and you're talking about that section talks about the architectural vision, you know, and it's kind of unique to this property. I mean, the properties on Park Street are unique. So you know, it's gonna be, I think, individualized per property and surrounding properties. No, I mean, certainly people may make that argument, but it's ultimately left to your discretion.
So what are we doing here? We're approving a variance? Is that what we're doing? An exception.
Have other questions or comments, I would entertain a motion on this item.
Okay. I move that we approve a variance or exception, for, there's not any notes, for the appeal of staff's determination of the design guidelines.
Second.
We have a motion made by Lavella with a second by Limer to approve a variance to staff requested action,
Right.
deny. Requested variance to approve the, use of the pre-finished non-corrugated metal, on the residential accessory structure located at 143 West Park Street. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with all those in favor. Seeing that, we have, the other new business items that have been deferred to the April 28th, 2015 meeting, and not knowing if we have additional items from staff this evening, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
We have a motion made to adjourn, made by Barber, with a second by Lavella. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned.
How is it different?
I think it looks nice.
Yeah, I didn't, that was no issue. Bye, guys.
Didn't work yourself?
No,